Set it up so Clock King kind of has this safe house in Starling City, as like a failsafe, just in case he ever got caught by the cops or whatever. And have it so you set up the situation where Clock King is after Felicity for the skeleton key. Remember that little plot device from the first Clock King episode? Now, I don't exactly remember. I'm a bit fuzzy here. I know at some point Slade steals the skeleton key to get to the Star Labs warehouse, but I don't know if like what happened to it from that point, or whether Team Arrow regained the skeleton key or the authorities got it. But for whatever reason, Clock King believes that Felicity has the skeleton key, so that's also partially why Clock King's gonna pursue Felicity and Team Arrow. And I suppose I'm not sure. Does he know where the Arrow Cave is, or he's just able to hack into their computers or something? But anyway, he should still be able to get to Felicity and try to screw with her, like put the screws to her. Um, so okay, so then we got Huntress. Now Huntress is gonna go to Team Arrow, and now granted, you're gonna have to create some sort of plot device where, for some reason, Argus isn't gonna continue to pursue Huntress despite the fact that she escaped. I don't know. You're gonna have to come up with something, and I'll admit, I don't know. Like you're gonna have to come up with something. I'm gonna need writers. I'm gonna need someone to bounce ideas off of. I'll admit that. I'm not just gonna like put it there in the script that Huntress just shows up and then Argus isn't coming after her for some reason, like the Arrow writers probably would do, and just never answer the question or come up with a dumb excuse or, say in some interview, oh yeah, it's a plot hole, we know, but what are you going to do about it? No, not good enough. So anyway, yeah, so we have to come up with some sort of plot device as to why Argus isn't pursuing her. So anyway, she goes to Team Arrow, which is now minus Oliver for help. Now, um, let me just explain. Okay, let's explain the timing of all this. Okay, so the idea is that Team Arrow is now fractured. So you got Oliver, who's gonna take Roy with him, to Hive to be part of Oliver's team on Hive to neutralize all these threats. He's gonna have his own team and all this shit. Um, I suppose there's gonna be an element of brainwash there, just like with the Raza, like what they actually did in the show. So so he's gonna be sort of courted to join Hive, and he's gonna join Hive on these missions and stuff to neutralize threats. And you're gonna have these filler episodes that he's gonna deal with Vertigo, Brick, Richard Dragon, Killer Moth, right? So keep those people in mind. Um, Also, you're gonna have so that's where Oliver and Roy are. And also, you know how I mentioned last video the thing with Lila almost getting killed by Captain Boomerang? Have the other character close to Oliver, have that be Roy. Now, at some point, either after that episode or around here, have like a filler episode. This is where you do the Roy centric episode, the Roy Harper centric episode, and then you do the thing I was advocating for, the flashbacks to the previous summer between seasons 2 and 3, and then we can see the brotherly bond form. And that's why Roy loyally follows Oliver with follows Oliver to Hive. See how that works better? So yeah, so that's where Oliver and Roy are. Thea's with Merlin, kind of against her will. I guess she's kind of unofficially part of Team Arrow. You got Diggle and Felicity. They're working with Argus to try to get Snap Oliver out of his fucking crazy fucking crusade with Hive. Plus, they're also working with Argus too to get Clock King back into custody. So you're gonna probably have a couple episodes where Clock King's the villain and Felicity and Diggle cut the deal with him. And now you're gonna have this thing where Huntress is gonna be with gonna go show up at the Arrow Cave, and she's gonna be paired with Laurel, but we'll get with that in a second. So basically, the idea is that Team Arrow is now fractured into these different parties, and I think that's like a really cool thing to do here because we've never seen that before. It's all splintered off. So anyway, so she goes to Laurel, right? And Laurel is hell bent on finding Lady Shiva and Sensei and all that shit. And you know that whole thing, how they never paid off, unless they paid it off in the comics. That's the season 2.5 comic. But you know the whole thing about how Huntress last season was talking to Laurel about letting the darkness in and all this shit. So like, since Huntress has no other place to go, and of course she knows about the Arrow Cave, she knows about Oliver, Team Arrow, all that shit. She goes to them because she has nowhere else to go. Her fiance's dead, her father's dead, her whole family's a bunch of fucking criminals and mobsters and shit, and she murdered a bunch of them. So obviously, she can't go to them for help or anything. So she's just gotta try her best to kind of play mind games with Laurel and try to, get her help and Team Arrow's help so she doesn't fucking end up back in jail or dead. So Huntress kind of tries to prove herself to Team Arrow, which, like I said, is kind of fractured at this point. So at some point, Sensei and company, Lady Shiva, etc., show up and they try to kill Laurel because Laurel, I don't know, maybe she gets on their trail somehow. She maybe uses the Starling City police resources to maybe try to find where they're hiding out or whatever. She does her own investigation, or who knows, right? Felicity figures something out, whatever, right? And so Huntress ends up saving her ass, right? And then, of course, now Nisa shows up, too, because she obviously wants to kill Lady Shiva and Sensei for killing her ex-girlfriend. So then, we got three chicks here. We got Nisa, Huntress, and Laurel, a.k.a. Black Canary. So, hello, we got our proto-birds of prey. Huh? There you go. You got your semi-evil birds of prey kind of thing going on. And Laurel, we're going to acknowledge the fact that Laurel's not a fighter here. So what ends up happening is that we play it as though, like they kind of did in the show, but they didn't really do it. Like, they tried to make it so Laurel was also some expert hand-to-hand combat fighter after getting a few boxing lessons. No, we're not. Forget that. Okay, forget all that shit. We're gonna do a thing where she modifies Sarah's canary cry device thing as a thing she wears around her neck, and she's able to scream and whatever, right? And that's gonna be how she fights people. You know what I'm saying? So she's gonna be more along the lines of like a Captain Cold, where she doesn't like. She's not like super like skilled fighter or anything, but she has access to this device that makes it so she can neutralize her opponents. So she's gonna she's hell bent on revenge, obviously. So she's gonna join up with Huntress and Nisa to stop Sensei and Lady Shiva and their little faction, and she's gonna use the Canary Cry device to fight alongside them. And basically all she's gonna be able to do is, sonic screams and shit, but whatever, right? It's more believable than having her some skilled fucking martial artist or some bullshit, right? It's stupid. So, this is where you can have your cake and eat it too. You can still acknowledge the fact that she isn't very skilled yet, but she can, she can train with Huntress, she can train with Nisa on getting better, but at the same time, at least you have a reason why she can participate in the fights now. Um, so yeah, so like I said, we're fractured now. We got Roy, Oliver over here with Hive. We got Felicity and Diggle dealing with Clock King, and they're with Argus. You got Laurel with the Birds of Prey and all that shit, and you got Thea against her will with Merlin. Um, so at some point too, yeah, with the flashbacks here, this is a really cool thing you can do. So remember in the first episode of the season, I was saying that during the heat of battle or whatever, Oliver's in the heat of battle. He gets a phone call from Sarah. Then the Lancers find Sarah dead. Um, so obviously it goes without saying. I didn't mention this, but you don't see Sarah in that episode. You just see Oliver and everyone dealing with Count Vertigo, right? So the flashbacks for this episode, whatever, at some point around here, you get the flashbacks during an episode, and it's the flashbacks are to the very first episode of the season, and we see Sarah in Starling City investigating Merlin first of all, and then you see Lady Shiva show up, and they get into this like fight to the death, and it's kind of intercut throughout the episode. You get like any other flashbacks in the show. It's like you get the flashbacks throughout the episode, and it's just one big fight where they're big fight to the death, and you see like Sarah struggling. You see Sarah get to the point where she has the second to make the call to Oliver, but then she gets cut off, and then she has to go back to fighting Lady Shiva again. And it's this big back and forth. She's trying her best. She's trying to stop herself from being killed. But finally, it looks like Sarah's gonna stop Lady Shiva. Then, like, see, this is the thing they employ in pro wrestling to kind of like you gain sort of like sympathy for the baby face, the good guy character, is that like Lady Shiva ends up winning the fight through some sort of underhanded means. Like it's almost as though she's cheating. Like someone comes out of nowhere and like shoots an arrow at Sarah or something, and then Lady Shiva like finishes her off or something. Like something like that, or a bunch of league fucking flunkies show up and it's just like a numbers game, and then Sarah gets defeated and then Lady Shiva throws the arrows into Sarah or something, or like Sensei shows up out of nowhere and like just starts beating the shit out of her just as Sarah starts getting the upper hand, something like that. So it just makes it all that more tragic when she gets killed. And here, of course, Sarah is getting killed definitively. She's not coming back on Legends of Tomorrow or any of that bullshit because it undermines her getting killed. Duh, it undermines it. This is a universe we want to maintain consequences. We don't want to. I'll get into this when we get to the end. We don't want a universe that's free of consequence. So yeah, that's one cool thing you can do with the flashback. So you can do that in an episode. So ultimately, probably I'd say the second to last episode of the season, what you have is Merlin. He eventually works with the Birds of Prey, the backstab sensei, and Merlin and Sensei get into a fight. And I guess also the Birds of Prey get into a fight with Lady Shiva. And I don't know. Maybe you can kill Lady Shiva off. Maybe you want to keep her alive for future shit. I don't know. But you can. I mean, if you're gonna kill her off, maybe you can do this thing where like Nisa like kills Lady Shiva, and like Nisa's kind of encouraging Laurel to kill her. and Laurel refuses just like Oliver. You can kind of do like a little parallel thing, and then like Lisa's like, okay, well if you're not gonna do it, I'll do it, and she like kills her. You can do something like that.